The HSS Excalibur hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, its graphene titanium hull absorbing nearly all visible light. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her weathered features reflected faintly in the transparent aluminum. 20 years of service in the human space service hadn't prepared her for what the long-range sensors were telling her. Multiple thermal signatures detected, announced Lieutenant Rodriguez from his tactical station. Configuration unknown. They're hammering New Providence colony with some kind of plasma weaponry. Chen's jaw tightened. New Providence was humanity's furthest colony, a mining outpost of 30,000 souls. They'd known the risks of expanding into uncharted space, but after 2 centuries of faster-than-light travel, humanity had never encountered hostile intelligent life. Until now. Status of colony defenses? Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. New Providence had basic point defense systems, nothing that could handle a coordinated attack. Orbital platforms are gone, Rodriguez reported grimly. Ground batteries still firing, but their shields are failing. 10 minutes tops before total collapse. Chen turned to her XO, Commander David Okafor. His dark eyes met hers with the same determined look they'd shared through countless exercises and simulations. Options? We're outgunned, Okafor stated flatly. Counting at least 30 vessels, all larger than Excalibur. Their energy readings are off the charts. He paused, a slight smile playing at his lips. But they haven't seen us yet. And they definitely haven't seen anything like us before. The Excalibur was humanity's first true warship, built not for exploration or commerce but for combat. Its development had been controversial, many argued that weapons of war had no place in peaceful expansion. But Chen and others had insisted that humanity needed to be prepared. The ship incorporated every advantage human ingenuity could devise: quantum computers, artificial gravity manipulation, and most importantly, the adaptive defense system. Dr. Patel, Chen called to her science officer. Analysis of their weapon signatures. Dr. Aisha Patel's fingers flew across her holographic interface. Plasma-based, highly focused. Consistent energy curves suggest their weapons are synchronized through some kind of shared targeting system. They're thinking and fighting as one. Perfect, Chen said. That's exactly what we needed to know. Lieutenant Rodriguez, power up the ADS. Dr. Patel, begin quantum analysis of their attack patterns. Commander Okafor, plot us a microjump that puts us right in the middle of their formation. The bridge crew stared at her for a moment before jumping into action. The adaptive defense system was experimental technology, designed to analyze enemy weapons in real time and modify the ship's defenses accordingly. It had never been tested in actual combat. Captain, Okafor said quietly, if we jump into their formation, we'll be surrounded. Exactly, Chen replied. They're coordinating their attacks perfectly, which means they're predictable. And predictable means vulnerable. She opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage an unknown hostile force currently attacking New Providence colony. This is not a drill. This is what we trained for. This is why Excalibur exists. Battle stations. The ship hummed as power flowed to its systems. The adaptive defense system came online, its quantum processors beginning their analysis of the enemy's attack patterns. Chen watched as tactical displays showed the enemy ships, their formation maintaining geometric precision as they bombarded the colony below. Microjump plotted, Okafor reported. Ready on your mark. Chen took a deep breath. Humanity's first contact with alien life was about to become humanity's first interstellar battle. Execute jump. Reality twisted as the Excalibur's FTL drive engaged for just a fraction of a second. They emerged in the heart of the enemy formation, surrounded by massive ships of biomechanical design. For a split second, nothing happened as the alien vessels registered their presence. ADS tracking multiple weapon locks, Rodriguez called out. They're all targeting us. Hold position, Chen ordered. Let them fire first. The alien ships responded in perfect synchronization, dozens of plasma weapons discharging simultaneously. The energy bolts streaked toward Excalibur from all directions, and that's when Chen's trap was sprung. ADS active. Dr. Patel announced. The quantum computers had predicted the exact pattern of the attack, and now they put that knowledge to use. Excalibur's gravitational fields shifted with impossible precision, creating microscopic distortions in spacetime around the ship. The plasma bolts curved, their trajectories altered by the gravitational lenses, and shot past Excalibur to impact other alien vessels. The enemy formation erupted in chaos as their own weapons struck their ships. Their perfect coordination worked against them. They'd fired simultaneously from all directions, creating a crossfire that their own shields hadn't been prepared to handle. Direct hits on multiple vessels, Rodriguez reported, excitement clear in his voice. Their shields are optimized for frontal defense only. Fire main guns, Chen ordered. Target their command and control nodes. Dr. Patel, start broadcasting interference on all frequencies. Let's see how well they fight when they can't think as one. Excalibur's rail guns roared to life, launching hypervelocity projectiles at speeds that made them nearly impossible to track. The alien ship's shields, already compromised by their own plasma weapons, couldn't stop the kinetic impacts. At the same time, the ship's electronic warfare suite began flooding local space with quantum-encrypted noise, disrupting the synchronization between enemy vessels. The alien formation began to break apart as individual ships lost contact with their network. Some began firing wildly, others attempted to retreat, and still others simply hung motionless in space, as if waiting for instructions that never came. Colony status? Chen demanded. Ground batteries still operational, Rodriguez reported. Enemy bombardment has ceased. They're running, Captain. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the alien fleet scattered, their perfect formation dissolved into chaos. Individual ships jumped to FTL seemingly at random, while others limped away on conventional drives. Pursue? Okafor asked. Chen shook her head. No. Our priority is the colony. Begin search and rescue operations, and get me a damage assessment. She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the aftermath of humanity's first space battle. And download all sensor data. The Admiralty's going to want every detail of this engagement. As Excalibur moved to assist the colony below, Chen couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in a way that couldn't be ignored. They'd faced an advanced alien force and emerged victorious through innovation and adaptability. Dr. Patel, she called. Begin analyzing the debris from those ships. I want to know everything about who they are and where they came from. She turned to face her crew. Because something tells me they'll be back. And next time, they'll be ready for us. The crew nodded grimly, understanding the weight of what they'd just accomplished, and what was likely to come. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger galaxy, and they'd done so not with peaceful greetings, but with a demonstration of their unique approach to warfare. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks after the battle at New Providence, the HSS Excalibur drifted in high orbit around a gas giant in neutral space. Captain Chen stared at the massive structure before them, a sprawling space station that seemed to defy physics, its crystalline spires and organic curves suggesting technology far beyond human understanding. Preliminary scan complete, Dr. Patel announced, her voice tight with excitement. The station's power output is, well, it's beyond our ability to measure. And I'm detecting at least 50 different species aboard. The invitation had come unexpectedly. After reports of the New Providence battle spread through subspace communications, a signal had reached Earth using protocols that bypassed all known encryption. The message was simple: the Galactic Council requested humanity's presence. Any sign of our friends from New Providence? Commander Okafor asked, studying the sensor readings of the assembled alien fleet around the station. Negative, Rodriguez replied from tactical. But several ships matched their energy signatures. Same technology, different design philosophy. Chen nodded. The debris analysis had revealed their attackers were something called the Mergents, a species that had abandoned individuality for perfect synchronization. They were also, apparently, outcasts from galactic society. Captain, the communication officer, called out. We're receiving docking instructions. They're very specific about our approach vector and speed. Follow their protocols exactly, Chen ordered. Let's not start a diplomatic incident before we even meet them. The Excalibur glided toward its assigned berth, dwarfed by the alien vessels surrounding it. Most were sleek and artistic, making the human warship look crude by comparison. But Chen knew appearances could be deceiving. A delegation waited in the docking bay, a mix of species that made Chen's head spin. The leader appeared to be a tall, crystalline being whose body pulsed with internal light. Beside it stood something that looked like a sentient cloud of gas contained within a transparent field, and a creature that reminded Chen of Earth's ancient trilobites, but scaled up to human size. Captain Sarah Chen, the crystalline being spoke, its voice creating harmonics that seemed to resonate in her bones. I am Consensus Arbiter NX-417. Welcome to Unity Station. Chen had been briefed extensively for this moment. She bowed slightly. Thank you for your invitation, Arbiter. Humanity is honored to join this gathering. Indeed. The Arbiter's lights pulsed in what might have been amusement. Though honor is perhaps not the word most would use. You have created quite a disturbance, Captain. The delegation led them through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they walked. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans, Chen, Okafor, Dr. Patel, and the small security detail. Some showed signs of obvious fear, others curiosity, and a few displayed what Chen hoped was approval. They entered a vast chamber where representatives from dozens of species sat in tiered rings around a central platform. The architecture seemed designed to humble visitors, and it was working. The Council will now address the human incursion, the Arbiter announced, its voice carrying effortlessly through the space. A being that appeared to be made of living metal spoke first. You engaged and defeated Emergence battle group. This should not have been possible. Explain. Chen stepped forward. We used their greatest strength against them. Perfect coordination means perfect predictability. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The gas cloud representative expanded slightly. You speak of chaos as if it were a weapon. Sometimes it is, Chen replied. Humanity has learned through bitter experience that adaptation and unpredictability are often the best defenses. Your species is young, the trilobite creature clicked its mandibles. You cannot understand the delicate balance we have maintained for millennia. The Mergents are contained. Your actions may have disrupted that containment. Dr. Patel spoke up, unable to contain herself. Contained? They were attacking our colony. How many other species have they contained themselves against? The chamber erupted in overlapping alien voices. The Arbiter's crystalline form flashed bright colors until order was restored. The human raises a valid point. The Mergent's incursion into their space violated our protocols. They are expanding, Chen said firmly. And your containment strategy isn't working. Our analysis of their debris showed signs of recent technological advancement. They're evolving. This created another stir. The metal being's surface rippled. Impossible. The Mergents are static. Perfect. Unchanging. Nothing is unchanging, Okafor interjected. That's the only universal constant. The Arbiter's lights pulsed rapidly. Perhaps this is why they targeted your colony first. They recognized in humanity something they fear, the potential for directed chaos. We've reviewed your ship's battle recordings, the gas cloud being said. Your tactics were innovative. Disturbing, but effective. No other species would have considered using gravitational fields in such a manner. Chen saw an opportunity. The mergents aren't going to stop. They'll keep pushing, keep testing your containment. But we can help. Humanity offers an alliance. Alliance? The trilobite's mandibles clattered in what might have been laughter. Your species has barely achieved interstellar travel. What could you offer the Council? A new perspective, Chen answered. New tactics. New ways of thinking. You've spent so long maintaining order that you've forgotten how to deal with chaos. We can teach you. The chamber fell silent. The Arbiter's crystalline form seemed to study Chen intently. What you suggest is unprecedented. The Council does not normally admit species at your level of development. These are unprecedented times, Chen pressed. The mergents are changing, adapting. If you keep fighting them the same way, using the same tactics, eventually they'll find a way through your containment. You need to evolve too. The metal being's surface swirled. The human's logic, while disturbing, contains truth. We should deliberate, the gas cloud announced. No, the Arbiter's voice rang out. We should vote. Now. The mergent's threat grows while we cling to procedure. It turned to address the chamber. Shall humanity be granted provisional alliance status? The next few minutes were tense as various species indicated their choices through methods Chen couldn't begin to understand. Finally, the Arbiter's form pulsed with white light. By a narrow margin, the motion carries. Captain Chen, humanity is now provisionally allied with the Galactic Council. The Arbiter's tone became grave. I hope we do not come to regret this departure from tradition. Chen looked around the chamber, meeting the alien gazes, or whatever passed for gazes among the assembled species. So do I, she said. Because if we're right about the mergents, tradition won't be enough to stop what's coming. As the session ended and various representatives approached to begin diplomatic discussions, Chen caught Okafor's eye. They both knew that humanity had just been thrust onto a much larger stage than anyone had anticipated. The real challenge would be proving they deserved to be there. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had become the catalyst. Whether that change would lead to chaos or a new kind of order remained to be seen. The training arena aboard Unity Station hummed with tension as Captain Chen watched the holographic display. Below, mixed teams of human and alien forces were running combat simulations against mergents' attack patterns. It had been 2 months since humanity's admission to the Council, and progress was challenging. No, no, and no. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice echoed through the chamber. You can't maintain perfect formation against an enemy that thinks as one. Break up, create chaos, make them divide their attention. The crystalline radiant warriors maintained their rigid battle lines, their light-based weapons firing in precise synchronized patterns. Beside them, the gaseous Nephili strike team held their designated positions exactly as Council doctrine dictated. The simulation ended predictably, with another decisive defeat. They're not getting it, Commander Okafor muttered, standing beside Chen. 2 months of training, and they're still fighting like it's a parade ground demonstration. Dr. Patel approached, her tablet displaying combat analytics. It's not just stubbornness. Their entire military philosophy is built around precision and coordination. We're asking them to unlearn millennia of doctrine. Chen watched as Rodriguez gathered the alien warriors for another briefing. The young lieutenant had proven surprisingly adept at cross-species training, even if his frustration sometimes showed through. They'll learn. They have to. Captain, a harmonic voice called. Chen turned to find Arbiter NX-417 approaching, its crystalline form pulsing with concerned colors. Your training methods continue to disturb many council members. But you've seen the results when they work, Chen countered. The combined team that adapted our tactics destroyed the simulation's mergence force with minimal casualties. Yes, The Arbiter's lights flickered. The team led by the, what did you call them? The troublemakers, who didn't follow their species' traditional combat roles. Chen smiled slightly. That team had been composed of aliens who'd never quite fit in with their own military hierarchies, a radiant warrior who created discordant light patterns, a Nephilim who preferred solid forms over gas, and others who'd always questioned convention. Under human training, they'd excelled. Sometimes the best soldiers are the ones who think differently, Chen said. The mergents are changing, evolving. We need to do the same. A new alarm cut through the air, its pitch making Chen's teeth vibrate. The Arbiter's form flashed urgent patterns. Speaking of evolution, we've just detected a mergence fleet approaching the Nephilim home system. Early reports suggest new tactics. Chen was already moving. How long until they arrive? 6 hours. The Council fleet is mobilizing, but they'll fight the same way they always have, Chen finished. And if the mergents really are using new tactics? Indeed. The Arbiter's colors darkened. Captain, I am taking a great risk. Against considerable opposition, I am granting you temporary command of the response fleet. Chen stopped short. The Council approved this? The Council was not consulted. There was no time. The Arbiter's form pulsed with what might have been amusement. Perhaps your species' propensity for chaos is contagious. Within an hour, the HSS Excalibur led a mixed fleet toward the Nephilim system. Chen had chosen ships commanded by officers who'd shown the most adaptation to human tactics during training. It wasn't a large force, many council captains had refused to serve under human command, but it was flexible. Mergence fleet detected, Rodriguez announced from his tactical station. Configuration is different. They're not in their usual geometric formation. The tactical display showed the enemy fleet arranged in what appeared to be a chaotic swarm. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns, but sensor data showed micro-adjustments that suggested underlying coordination. They're mimicking our tactics, Dr. Patel said, her voice tight. They've analyzed how we beat them and adapted. No, Chen replied, studying the display. They're trying to mimic chaos, but they're still thinking as one. Look at the movement patterns, there's mathematical precision in their randomness. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Captain Chen. The enemy is attempting to use our own tactics against us. But they don't understand the true principle behind them. She paused, choosing her words carefully for her alien audience. Chaos isn't just about random movement. It's about individual initiative, about each unit thinking and adapting independently while working toward a common goal. They can imitate the form, but not the substance. We're going to show them the difference. Chen laid out her plan. Instead of responding to the mergence false chaos with true chaos, they would present an apparently perfect, predictable formation. A target too tempting to resist. The mergence fleet took the bait, their swarm configuration collapsing into a more focused attack pattern as they moved to engage what looked like a traditional council fleet. They're committing, Okafor reported. All ships showing power spikes consistent with weapon charging. Hold formation, Chen ordered. Let them think they've learned our weakness. She watched the tactical display as the mergence fleet closed in. Wait for it, wait. Now. The apparently rigid council formation exploded into genuine chaos. Ships broke in all directions, each following pre-planned but individually distinct vectors. The mergence ships, committed to their attack run, couldn't adapt quickly enough to the multiple, truly random threats. Their coordination is breaking down, Rodriguez called out. They can't track multiple independent threats simultaneously. All ships, engage at will, Chen ordered. Don't coordinate your attacks, that's what they expect. Fight as individuals. What followed was perhaps the strangest battle in council history. Each ship acted independently, following no discernible pattern, yet somehow maintaining an overall strategic coherence. The Mergence fleet, trying to respond to dozens of different tactical approaches simultaneously, began to show signs of confusion. Individual Mergence ships started to drift out of formation as their collective consciousness struggled to process too many unpredictable variables at once. Some ships fired at phantom targets, others crashed into each other trying to avoid attacks from multiple directions. "Their network is collapsing," Dr. Patel reported, monitoring the Mergence communications. "They can't maintain synchronization under this much chaos." The battle ended decisively. The Mergence fleet, its collective consciousness overloaded, retreated in disarray. The Nephilim system was saved, and more importantly, a new tactical doctrine was born. As the fleet regrouped, Chen received messages from several Council ship commanders. The battle had demonstrated beyond doubt the effectiveness of human tactical theories. More importantly, it had shown that the Mergence could be beaten not by superior technology or numbers, but by embracing unpredictability. A most irregular victory, the Arbiter's voice came through the command channel, its harmonics suggesting both approval and concern. "The Council will not be pleased by such unorthodox methods. But they can't argue with the results," Chen replied. "The Mergence are evolving, but they're still bound by their nature. They can imitate chaos, but they can't truly understand it. That's our advantage." Perhaps, the Arbiter's tone became thoughtful, "It is time for the Council to evolve as well." As the fleet set course back to Unity Station, Chen knew that the real battle was just beginning. They'd won a tactical victory, but changing the minds of a civilization that had stood unchanged for millennia would prove far more challenging than defeating the Mergence. But they'd taken the first step. They'd shown that convention could be broken, that tradition could be challenged, and that sometimes the best way to maintain order was to embrace a little chaos. Unity Station's Central Command Chamber had never seen anything quite like this. Holographic displays showed hundreds of Mergence ships converging on Council space from multiple vectors. But for once, the panic that usually accompanied such reports was tempered with something new: hope. "Their attack patterns have become increasingly erratic," Dr. Patel explained to the assembled Council representatives. "They're attempting to adapt to our tactics, but each adaptation moves them further from their core strength, unity." Captain Chen stood beside a tactical display, watching the Mergence fleet movements. In the 4 months since the battle at the Nephilim system, the enemy had launched dozens of probing attacks, each using different strategies. Each had been repelled, but Chen saw a disturbing pattern emerging. "They're not just adapting," she announced, interrupting the Council's deliberations. "They're learning. Each attack tests a new approach. They're building a database of tactical responses." The metallic being known as the strategic apex rippled in agitation. "Impossible. The Mergence cannot truly learn. They can only optimize existing patterns." "Then explain this," Chen gestured, and the tactical display shifted to show combat footage from recent engagements. "Watch their ship movements. They're developing emergent behaviors, patterns that arise from individual units rather than central control." The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. The Arbiter's crystalline form pulsed with warning colors. "If what you say is true, Captain, then the Mergence are doing more than evolving. They're beginning to understand the very concept they were created to oppose, chaos itself." Commander Okafor stepped forward. "Not quite. They're trying to understand it analytically, mathematically. They see chaos as a formula to be solved rather than a fundamental force to be harnessed. And that," Chen added, "is why we're going to beat them. But we'll need the Council to take an unprecedented step." The Arbiter's colors shifted to curious patterns. "Explain." Chen took a deep breath. What she was about to propose went against thousands of years of Council protocol. "We need to share technologies. Not just between Council races, but in new ways. Human adaptability combined with radiant energy weapons. Nephilim phase-shifting drive systems modified with our quantum computers. We need to create weapons and defenses that don't just work differently, they need to evolve during battle." The chamber exploded into chaos. Species that had guarded their technological secrets for millennia reacted with everything from outrage to terror. The Arbiter had to pulse emergency frequencies to restore order. "What you suggest is forbidden," the strategic apex stated flatly. "Technology sharing is strictly regulated to maintain balance." "Balance?" Dr. Patel challenged. "The Mergents are about to launch a major offensive with technology they've specifically evolved to counter all our separate capabilities. If we don't adapt faster than they do, there won't be any balance to maintain." Lieutenant Rodriguez, who had been quietly working at a console, spoke up. "Incoming transmission from the Excalibur. Long-range scouts report the Mergent's fleet is accelerating. They'll reach the outer defense perimeter in less than 20 hours. Chen looked around the chamber. "We're out of time for debate. Either we change how we fight, or we lose everything. Your choice." The Arbiter's form pulsed rapidly as it consulted with other council leaders. Finally, it spoke. "The emergency protocols of Unity Station contain a provision for extreme circumstances. If 3/4 of the council agrees, all technological restrictions can be temporarily suspended." The vote was close, but fear of the approaching Mergent's fleet proved stronger than tradition. Within hours, Unity Station had been transformed into something unprecedented, a joint engineering and tactical development center. The scene in the main hangar bay would have been unimaginable months earlier. Human engineers worked alongside radiant crystal shapers, modifying shield generators with phase-shifted quantum fields. Nephilim gas-form technicians flowed through ship systems, optimizing them in ways solid matter couldn't achieve. Even the normally secretive metallic beings shared some of their computational crystals. "It's beautiful," Dr. Patel said, watching a radiant crystal shaper modify one of Excalibur's rail guns to fire quantum-entangled plasma bolts. Every species adding their unique perspective, creating something entirely new. But will it be enough? Okafor wondered, studying reports from the outer defense platforms. The answer came sooner than anyone expected. The Mergent's fleet arrived ahead of schedule, having developed yet another new faster-than-light travel configuration. But this time, the Council forces were ready. The battle began in high orbit around a gas giant in the outer defense zone. The Mergent's ships emerged from FTL in attack formation, their swarm immediately beginning to analyze and adapt to the defending fleet's configuration. But this time, there was no configuration to adapt to. Each council ship had been modified in unique ways, combining technologies that had never been merged before. The Excalibur led the first attack run, its hybrid weapons firing quantum-phased plasma that ignored Mergent's shields entirely. "Their collective consciousness is trying to analyze our capabilities," Dr. Patel reported, monitoring the enemy's communications. "But each ship they scan shows different energy signatures." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "How do you adapt to something that never stays the same?" She opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, execute random pattern alpha. Remember, don't coordinate your attacks. Let your ship's hybrid systems evolve naturally during combat." The space around the gas giant erupted in chaos as council ships engaged the enemy. Radiant vessels fired beams of light that phase-shifted mid-flight, guided by human targeting algorithms. Nephilim ships transformed between gas and solid states unpredictably, their weapons incorporating metallic beings' computational crystals to calculate impossible attack vectors. And at the center of it all, the Excalibur demonstrated why humanity's adaptability made them so dangerous. Its systems, enhanced by alien technologies but guided by human intuition, evolved new capabilities mid-battle. Shields learned from each hit they took, weapons adjusted their output based on observed effectiveness, and the quantum computers developed new tactics faster than the Mergents could analyze them. "Their formation is breaking down," Rodriguez reported excitedly. Multiple ships showing signs of network disconnection. The Mergents' fleet's swarm pattern became increasingly erratic as their collective consciousness struggled to process the overwhelming variety of threats it faced. Ships began acting independently, their actions becoming truly random rather than coordinated chaos. "This is it," Chen announced. "All ships, execute final attack pattern. Hit them with everything you've got, every ship differently." The Council fleet surged forward, each vessel unleashing unique combinations of hybrid weapons. The Mergence fleet, its collective consciousness overwhelmed by the true chaos it faced, began to break apart. Ships fled in different directions, their perfect unity shattered by weapons and tactics they couldn't categorize or counter. As the battle wound down, with the remaining Mergence ships in full retreat, Chen received a transmission from the Arbiter. Its crystalline form pulsed with colors she'd never seen before. "Captain," it said, "I believe we may need to revise some of our oldest laws. The galaxy has changed more in these past months than in the previous 1,000 years. And perhaps that is not entirely a bad thing." Chen looked around her bridge, at the hybrid technologies that now augmented every station, at the displays showing Council ships that had become something entirely new. "Change isn't good or bad," she replied. "It's inevitable. The trick is learning to ride the wave instead of trying to stop it." As the fleet regrouped and began pursuit of the scattered Mergence forces, Chen knew that this victory marked more than just a military triumph. It represented a fundamental shift in how the galaxy's civilizations viewed themselves and each other. The rigid structures of the past were giving way to something new, something that combined the best of order and chaos. The real question was, what would this new galaxy look like once the dust settled? 6 months after the Battle of the Gas Giant, Unity Station had become unrecognizable. Where once crystalline spires had stood in perfect geometric harmony, now organic curves merged with angular human architecture. Nephili gas forms flowed through new hybrid systems while radiant crystal shapers modified the station's very structure. The change in the station's appearance reflected a deeper transformation in galactic society. Captain Chen stood in the newly constructed Adaptive Command Center, watching holographic displays track the remaining Mergence forces across the galaxy. Their once mighty fleet had been reduced to scattered groups, their collective consciousness fractured into smaller, isolated networks. "Latest intelligence report," Captain, Commander Okafor announced, approaching with Dr. Patel. "The largest remaining Mergence group has requested communication." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Communication? Not surrender?" "They wish to talk," Dr. Patel said, checking her data tablet. "It's unprecedented. The Mergence have never attempted diplomatic contact before." The Arbiter's crystalline form shimmered into existence beside them, its colors thoughtful. "Perhaps they have evolved beyond their original programming more than we realized. The question is, have we evolved enough to listen?" The communication was arranged in neutral space, with the Excalibur representing the Council. The Mergence ship that approached was different from any they'd encountered before. Its biomechanical hull showed signs of individual modification rather than standardized design. "Signal coming through," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his tactical station. The voice that filled the bridge was unlike the mechanical monotone they'd come to expect from the Mergence. It carried harmonics of individuality, of difference within unity. "We wish to understand." Chen exchanged glances with her crew before responding. "Understand what?" "Change. Chaos. Individual thought within collective action. We have experienced fracture. Division. Yet we continue to function. To adapt. This contradicts our fundamental principles." "That's because your fundamental principles were flawed," Chen replied. "Perfect unity isn't strength, it's stagnation. Real strength comes from diversity, from the ability to change and grow. We observe this truth in your victory," the Mergence voice acknowledged. "Your fleet acted without central control, yet achieved coordination. Individual units evolved independently, yet served a common purpose. This paradox interests us." The Arbiter's form pulsed with surprise colors. "Are you proposing to study our methods? To learn from those you sought to destroy?" "We propose exchange," the Mergence responded. We offer knowledge of our collective technology. We seek understanding of individual adaptation within unity. What followed was the most extraordinary diplomatic negotiation in Council history. The Mergents, or at least this faction of them, proposed a radical transformation of their society. They would maintain their collective consciousness but introduce controlled variance, allowing for individual development within their network. In return, they would share their advanced biotechnology with the Council races, particularly their innovations in faster-than-light travel and neural networking. But more importantly, they would serve as a bridge between unified and individualistic species, studying how to balance order and chaos. The council chambers erupted in debate when the proposal was presented. Some representatives argued that the Mergents couldn't be trusted, that this was merely another adaptation strategy. Others saw an unprecedented opportunity for peaceful evolution. Consider the symbolism, Chen argued before the council. Our greatest enemy, transformed not through destruction but through understanding. Isn't that worth the risk? The risk is considerable, the strategic apex noted, its metallic surface rippling. If we allow the Mergents to remain intact, even in an altered form, they could revert to their original programming. Everything involves risk, Dr. Patel countered. 6 months ago, combining our technologies was considered too dangerous to attempt. Now look at us. She gestured around the chamber, where hybrid systems seamlessly merged the work of multiple species. The Arbiter's colors shifted through thoughtful patterns. Perhaps this is the next step in our own evolution. We created the Council to maintain order in the galaxy. But order without growth, without change, is just another form of stagnation. The vote was close, but in the end, the proposal was accepted. Over the following months, a new organization emerged alongside the Council, the Adaptive Defense Force. It combined the best aspects of all member species, including the reformed Mergents. Ships were staffed by mixed crews, encouraging the exchange of ideas and methods. Technology continued to evolve in unexpected ways as different species collaborated freely. 1 year after the Battle of the Gas Giant, Captain Chen stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships of all designs move through the surrounding space. The Excalibur was there, its hull now enhanced with crystalline growths and phase shift capability, a testament to the new era of cooperation. Quite a view, isn't it? Commander Okafor joined her at the window. Hard to believe this all started with one battle over a mining colony. Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest beginnings, Chen replied. We just had to be ready to adapt when the moment came. Dr. Patel approached, holding her ever-present tablet. The latest reports from the Mergents Integration Project are fascinating. Their collective consciousness is developing distinct personalities within the network. They're calling it unified diversity. Unified diversity, Chen repeated thoughtfully. That's not a bad description of what we've all become. She turned to face her officers. The galaxy is changing faster than ever now, and there's no going back to the old ways. But for the first time, I think we're all changing together. As if to emphasize her point, a new ship class emerged from the station's construction dock, its design a perfect fusion of multiple species technologies. It represented something that had never existed before, a true galactic civilization, one that celebrated differences while working toward common goals. The Arbiter materialized beside them, its colors radiating satisfaction. The Council archives have been updated, it announced. This period will be known as the Adaptive Age. And it began, as so many great changes do, with a single ship that dared to fight differently. Chen smiled, watching the new ship power up its hybrid drives. That's the thing about adaptation, she said. Once it starts, you never know where it's going to lead. You just have to trust that change, no matter how chaotic it seems, is taking you exactly where you need to go. The galaxy had indeed changed forever. But unlike the rigid order of the past or the destructive unity of the original Mergents, this new order was built on principles of growth, diversity, and continuous adaptation. It was chaos and order working in harmony, proving that the greatest strength comes not from perfect unity or complete individuality, but from finding the balance between them. And it had all started with a single human ship, fighting differently.